The next morning, Ralph Saller meets Agent Mueller at the helipad in Juneau, Alaska. He is still struggling to come to terms with the fact that his colleague, FBI agent Schneider, has disappeared without a trace. Is it really connected to the UFO crash in the middle of the country? Together with Agent Mueller, who is Agent Renee Schneider's superior, Ralph hopes to solve this mystery. Ralph was on the Lynn Canal with Renee to solve the mystery of the many missing people in the Alaska Triangle, and then Renee got it too. What is behind it? Are aliens at work here, and what are they planning? Good morning. Ralph hears. Are you ready for the mission? Yes. I can't wait. Ralph answers Agent Mueller. They both get into the helicopter. The pilot seems a little tense. He just says, "Please fasten your seatbelts." They both follow his instructions and he starts the helicopter and takes off. The helicopter flies inland. Ralph doesn't see any roads or towns, everything is largely untouched nature. He could only see a train track, but otherwise only forests and mountains. After a certain amount of time in the air, the forests thin out and the vast plains of the treeless tundra take over. It won't be long before the helicopter reaches the crash site. Alien Area Shop. Your one-stop fashion destination. Attention, fashion enthusiasts of all ages. Step into the extraordinary world of Alien Area, where style meets intergalactic flair. Whether you're a man, woman, or child, we've got the trendiest clothing and accessories to make you stand out from the crowd. Visit Alien Area Shop today and let us help you defy gravity with our mind-blowing fashion selections. Prepare to be abducted by style. The first thing the occupants of the helicopter see is a wide furrow from the impact of the unidentified flying object. The furrow is as wide as a football field. It must be a very large object. The helicopter now flies over a hill and then the occupants see the object. A silvery metallic triangle the size of a football stadium lies before them. It devastated a 5-mile stretch but does not seem to have suffered much damage itself. The helicopter circles the unidentified object and then prepares to land. After they land, the two investigators marvel at the unidentified flying object. It is incredibly large. Even Mueller, who has seen a lot in his career, is amazed. Ralph notices an open hatch on the side of the spaceship. Ralph says to Mueller, "Look, there's an entrance. Are you ready, Mueller?" "Yes, let's go in, but be careful. We don't know what we're dealing with." Mueller is a good 50 years old. He is about 5.5 feet tall. He has already lost his hair, but he is well trained and in shape. The good training at the FBI has given him very good skills. It makes him seem fearless and confident. Together they approach the entrance. Ralph and Agent Mueller enter the unidentified flying object together. A greenish light shines inside and the corridors are built like tubes. Ralph feels with his hand that the walls are soft and warm. It must be some kind of organic material. Ralph also feels a slight vibration when he touches it, as if it must be some kind of artificial life form. It also seems that once they enter, their sense of time is no longer really perceptible. Ralph does not know how long they follow the corridor, but he comes to the conclusion that the spaceship has more space inside than it appears from the outside. Finally they reach the end of the corridor and in front of them lies an incredibly large room. In the middle is a kind of futuristic city with flying vehicles and a lot of traffic. One of these vehicles comes closer and Ralph and Agent Mueller no longer understand anything. Nobody is controlling it, it moves autonomously. Everything here must be operated by artificial intelligence. The vehicle stops and a door opens. The cabin is empty. Agent Mueller says, "I think someone wants us to get in." Ralph says, "I would really like to know who or what is controlling all this." They both get in and the vehicle takes off and flies towards the city in the middle of the room. Ralph wonders if they have really entered a spaceship. But he sees the walls of the room glowing green. How is that possible? Ralph asks himself. This goes against the limits of physics. As they get closer, Ralph notices that the tall buildings look like giant batteries. They look very worn out. The vehicle lands on a landing pad between the buildings. Both investigators get out and see an entrance to one of the battery buildings. Ralph and Agent Mueller look at each other and with a mutual nod, they are ready to enter the building. Ralph wonders who built all this and where the builders are. The entire spaceship is controlled by artificial intelligence, which is charged by these huge battery buildings. But how are these batteries charged? Both investigators are excited to see what they will find in these battery buildings. Both of them are left breathless. The building is constructed like a tube and glass containers are lined up on the walls up to the highest point of the building. It somehow reminds Ralph of the Matrix films with Keanu Reeves. There must be thousands in one building. Ralph and Agent Mueller open one to see what's inside. The glass container looks very worn and can be easily opened from the side. The contents are a pile of ashes and bone fragments. Everything was converted into energy by this life form. I believe these glass containers were developed by the builders to survive the long journey through space. But the spaceship's artificial intelligence converted these into batteries and thus used the life energy of the builders to travel further. Over time, it reached other planets and used the aliens living there for the batteries. Now it's here and is doing the same to us humans. But something has happened. It looks as if the artificially living spaceship is dying. Agent Mueller explains to Ralph. I wouldn't be surprised if we find people in these containers. Hopefully still alive, says Ralph. Let's look around here a bit more. I'm calling for reinforcements who can help us find missing people, says Agent Mueller. He calls the nearest Air Force base. They immediately send helicopters with search parties to this unidentified flying object. Several days have passed since the search teams arrived. The spaceship has been thoroughly searched since then. The search for survivors of any kind continues feverishly. Every glass container is opened, but so far only the remains of unknown creatures have been found. It is assumed that these must be the builders of this spaceship. After the 11th day, a radio message comes from one of the searching soldiers from Sector Delta 4, the last battery tower. This is Corporal Ryan from Sector Delta 4. I need help. I have found survivors here. They are people. Please confirm. Understood. We are sending out a rescue team, was the relieved reply. A good 100 people were rescued alive from the glass containers. Everything was thought to have disappeared without a trace. Among them was Renee Schneider. Ralph and Agent Mueller were relieved when they received the good news. A few days later, in Juneau Hospital, Renee Schneider awoke from his coma-like state. It took several days before he was finally able to be questioned. When asked if he could remember anything, he only said that he was on the ship and suddenly an energy beam hit him, and since then he hasn't remembered anything. The next thing he remembered was when he came to here in the hospital. Ralph wondered if there were more alien spaceships like this, which would explain the many missing people worldwide. The crashed spaceship began to disintegrate when the last survivor was recovered. All samples and collections turned to dust and were unusable. Only a few photos prove the incident and were classified as secret. It was not possible to find out what the mission of the alien builders was. Ralph, condemned to silence, returns to Germany. He needs some time off to gather his knowledge and allows himself a vacation to get some distance from the paranormal mysteries.